Hello, welcome to today's video, which is the next installment in the revisiting series. And today we're going to revisit Rosaria. That's right, it's time. I know it is long overdue. I got C6 Rosaria like first. She was my first C6 character. And I just have not revisited her. So I, of course, initially built her kind of. Not well, mind you, but I did. But I just have not been using her since the initial building and really not getting the most out of her. Today, I have farmed enough to fully level her, fully raise the talents that I want to raise so that I can finally get some use out of my Rosaria. But before we get into it, you know what's coming. Come on. My Twitch, twitch.tv/Meejin, MEEJIIN. You can join us there and experience moments just like this. Let me seed all of you. I'll fill you all with my seed. Wow, wasn't that amazing? So join us there live if you want, and let's get into today's video. Okay, so who is Rosaria? How does she work? Let's talk about it. So Rosaria is a cryo polearm character. Her role is usually as a support in a team. You can build her as a DPS, of course, as with just about every other character. But the way I will be using her today, as well as the way I have used her in the past, is as a support character. Hello, editing Meech. Just to make a quick note here, throughout this video I refer to Rosaria as a support, and she is because she buffs your character's crit rate through her passive, but I'm also kind of referring to sub DPS as well, just bundled in the support term. I know I'm kind of getting into the semantics of it here, but you know, just to clarify, sub DPS support rolled into one fundle bundle. Alright, back to it. So Rosaria is a pretty interesting and unique character, and she offers things to your team that few other characters can. I feel like I rarely see Rosaria being used a lot nowadays, which is too bad because she's a pretty unique character and she can offer some really good benefits to your team. I remember having a lot of fun with her back in the day. I just fell off using her for a lot of reasons, one of them probably being that she's good in freeze teams, and I don't run freeze teams. Let's talk about her talents. Her normal attack is just your classic polearm normal attack, nothing really crazy here. I would recommend not even bothering with leveling this if you're gonna run support or Rosaria. Her skill is really cool. Basically what happens is you will use your skill and you will teleport behind the enemy that you skilled on. Not every enemy, the bigger ones you can't teleport behind, but the smaller ones, you know, your hilichurls, your mages, whatever, you can do a little, you know, right behind them, and it will deal 2 instances of cryo damage, which is pretty nice. It also works in conjunction with her A1 passive here, which is when you use her skill, she will gain an extra 12% crit rate for 5 seconds. Now this only applies when you hit an enemy from behind, meaning that when you fail to hit an enemy from behind, you will not get that crit rate boost. I'm going to talk about the A4 passive next because it is also very important. So basically what happens is when you use your ult, you will give 15% of Rosaria's crit rate to the other members of your party for 10 seconds. Now it says here the bonus gain this way cannot exceed 15%, which basically means your Rosaria at 100% crit rate would be giving the maximum buff that she can give through this passive. But this is a really good passive. Very few characters give crit buffs in general, and the fact that Rosaria gives a crit rate buff is really unique. Like, that's really, really good. And it's no wonder in a freeze team that this would be extra good because you're probably also getting the Blizzard Strayer buff from your DPS character with that extra crit rate boost as well. So combine that with Rosaria's crit rate buff and you can stack more crit damage because you're making up for your lack of crit rate with these kind of characters, with the artifact buffs. So this is really, really nice. Now that leads me into the burst, which is the golden star of Rosaria's kit. Basically she does this kind of like swing, and then the cross comes down from the sky and it ticks and deals cryo damage. Now I'll talk about the burst a little more in the constellations because it does become more valuable with certain constellations, but without any constellations this will tick 4 times, and something to note about it is that it has no internal cooldown, meaning that every tick that Rosaria's burst does can react. So say you're doing like a reverse melt situation, you slap Rosaria's ult on the ground and it ticks 4 times, every single one of those could do a reverse melt. It gets better with constellations, I'll talk about that after, but even with the constellations, when you gain extra ticks, it has no internal cooldown on any of it. So it's really, really nice. You can do a lot of reaction damage that way. So just a note on the rotation order, because your passive here from using your skill gives you that 12% crit rate boost, you should do it before your burst. So basically you're just getting the most out of her kit that way. Her final passive talent is that she gets a nice little speed boost at certain hours. So as I said, I've had C6 for a long time, a long time. So this is long overdue. Let's quickly go over her constellation. So C1, honestly, kind of irrelevant for a support Rosaria. I could see this really only being a positive for a DPS Rosaria. What happens is when you deal a crit hit, your attack speed is going to increase by 10% and your normal attack damage will increase by 10% as well for 4 seconds. But that's kind of useless if you're not doing normal attacks on your Rosaria, which I imagine you would not be unless you're running DPS Rosaria. So whatever on that one. Really all it's good for is to be a stepping stone to C2, which is a juicy, juicy constellation. So this is the constellation that will prolong your burst by 4 seconds, which is equivalent to 2 extra ticks. So instead of ticking 4 times on your burst, you will tick 6. And like I said, each of those can react. So this is a really nice constellation. It strengthens the strongest part of her kit, so that is great for her. C3 is a talent upgrade. So C4 is a little bit of a quality life increase with some energy regeneration. Basically, every time you cast your skill and you land a crit hit, you'll regenerate 5 energy for just Rosaria, which is pretty good because you want her burst to be ready for your next rotation. So probably one of the more important ones, not as good as C2, but still pretty nice. C5 is a talent upgrade. C6 is kind of whatever too. You are going to decrease your opponent's physical resistance by 20% for 10 seconds when you use her burst, which is kind of like, well, I know it's not bad, but obviously this is going to be better depending on what team you're running. If you're running her with Eula, for example, this is a great constellation because Eula is doing physical damage. But if you're running her in like a melt or freeze comp, it's not as important. Basically, C2, C4, that's where it's at. Okay, so let's go over the build I have before. As usual, I will be doing my before build before testing the after build, just so we can get a little comparison. I just slapped Blackcliff pole on her just for the stat stick, honestly. I put on a 2-piece Noblesse, 2-piece Blizzard for her initially. My logic was that I was using her as kind of burst support, which is what I want to use her for again. However, in the comps I'm thinking of running, it might be better to slap a Noblesse on her to give the rest of the team a bigger buff. Instead of doing like a 2-piece and increasing her own personal cryo damage with the Blizzard set, I think it might just be better to use Noblesse, especially because I kind of want to try her with my DPS Benny, who is now on a Crimson Witch set, and therefore she could use the Noblesse because he's not using it anymore. But this is what I have now: 2-piece Blizzard, 2-piece Noblesse. Here's the ratio we're looking at. For Rosaria, this is bad. This is not good. On a Rosaria, you really want to lean into her crit rate, of course, because she's giving that buff to your other party members. Now, usually you kind of want to aim for like a 1-to-2 crit rate, crit damage ratio, but on Rosaria, it's going to be a little different. Obviously, because she gives so much of a crit rate boost, it is going to be better to lean into her crit rate. So on the new build, when I revisit her, we'll obviously be leaning a lot more into this, but for now, this is the before. And where I stopped leveling her is 80, and talents, as you saw, 688. So not the worst, but not the best. All right, so let's talk team options. Obviously, the team I'm most excited about is a reverse melt comp because I hate freeze. I just hate it, and I'm not looking forward to testing it today, but I'm not gonna talk about that right now. Let's talk reverse melt. So here's the team I was picturing. This looks like a juicy reaction team to me. We got Benny for the pyro application as well as the on-field DPS, Zhengling for the off-field pyro, and Kazuha for a little EM boost, little swirl action, little enemy grouping, and of course reverse melting with Rosaria. I can't imagine this team not working because these 3 characters are so strong anyway that like Rosaria is just a cherry on top essentially. So this is the team I'm most looking forward to trying, but of course, I cannot talk about Rosaria team options without talking about freeze. All right, so here's a freeze option for me. I do not have Ayaka, Ganyu, Shenhe, any of the cryo characters really. So this would be the kind of freeze team I would have to run with Kaya as the main DPS, which is not good because my Kaya also needs to be revisited. He is not shining his brightest right now. So not great, this is not great. But I will try it nonetheless. Mona, I could slap the Thrilling Tales on her, maybe get a little extra boost that way. And of course, Kazuha is always great. But you can run a freeze team like 1,000,001 different ways. You could have your DPS here, Ganyu, Ayaka, maybe Shenhe for a little cryo boost instead of the Kazuha. And then the Hydro character slot is pretty flexible as well. You could do Shincho, maybe Yelan, Kokomi, like there's a lot of options. Really just whatever you find yourself needing in that team. If you need a healer, maybe Barbara Kokomi is going to be the way to go. It really just depends on who you have built, what you have available. But there's a lot of freeze team options. That's why she's very flexible in a freeze team. We'll try the freeze team first, and then we'll switch it up to the reverse melt team I'm thinking of. So let's start out with this one. Okay, so in the freeze comp, I feel like Rosaria's personal damage is not going to be as good as in the reverse melt comp that I'll try, but I will test her personal numbers just to see. All right, so let's do a quick Rosaria testy westy. Let's do a skill. 5k-ish, and that did crit. I think Basanori counts as a bigger enemy, so we can't exactly get behind him. Let's check it out. No, we got behind him. We're in that booty. We're in there. Nice. I think her skill's pretty underrated too. Like it really targets quite well. Like you could be quite far away facing a different direction and she's still gonna go for the meat. You know what I mean? Okay, let's do a burst, see what we get on the raw burst. Oh, okay, it would help if you stood in the circle. That does raise the issue of like circle impact where you're kind of confined to an area. 6k, 6.1, yeah, 6,100-ish, okay. Okay, so now Mona's on the Thrilling Tales, so we can get like a more team overview. Obviously, Rosa's personal damage will also be boosted because of this. Yeah. Okay, let's Do a little freezy wheezy. A little ulti walty. Also, I don't know, the order might be really off with this. Again, not the best with freeze. Oh, you know, I just realized we don't have healer. Oh no, we have no healer. I do this all the time. I just forget that I should bring a healer. Oh my gosh, no! Okay, so obviously this team would not be practical in a real life situation without a healer. Okay, so in that case, maybe a Kokomi would be better. Maybe a Barbara. No, for testing purposes, I'm gonna leave this team the way it is. In practice, you're gonna want a healer. It's not practical, but we will keep it. All right, let's get into the reverse melt. This is what I'm excited about. And we do have a healer on this team because Benny is everything. You need nothing in your life except for a Benny. Okay, so I'm thinking the order for this one should be Benny skill, Swirl the Pyro, Benny ult, Kazu ult, Zhangling ult. Maybe I should put a skill out there, and then let's do Rosa. Let's see how many we would get reverse melt. 28k. 25k? Oh, okay. Interesting. Honestly, that's a lot more than I thought it was gonna be. 25k again. Ugh, do you see why I don't like freeze? I mean, sorry, I know I always poop all over freeze. I don't mean to, I don't like freeze. So that was already pretty strong. I know, like I said earlier, it's because Benny, Zhangling, and Kazu were so strong already that Rosa is really just the cherry on top of an already delicious sundae. A delicious human meat sundae. Ooh, that's pretty good. I'm definitely more excited about this team. The freeze team it was fine. It's always fine. Okay, so I should have farmed exactly enough to raise Rosaria's talents here to 99 and to raise her to level 90. So let's do that now. Oh, well, I failed to consider that, didn't I? Please hold. All right, Rosa, let's do it. All right, level 90, nice. 9 on that, and perfect, 9 on that. So we now have 699 on the talents. Okay, weapon options. This is gonna be interesting because I learned that Wavebreaker's fin is actually great on Rosaria. I mean, I guess it does make sense depending on how much energy you have on the team. I wouldn't be considering this if I had R1 of the Wavebreaker's fin, but I did get like weirdly lucky on, it must have been the Red Horde banner, and I got R5. So this is actually pretty intriguing. So basically when this weapon is really good is when you have a team that has a lot of high energy costs. So let's quickly calculate how much my Rosa could get on my team right now. Rosa's burst costs 60, Benny's burst costs 60, Zhangling's burst costs 80, and then Kazu's burst costs 62. So that's 260. It's not the highest. It's pretty mid in terms of energy cost. And so now, because I have R5, I'm gonna get an extra 0.24% of this burst cost turned into elemental burst damage. Let me do that right now. So that is 62.4% extra elemental burst damage, which is pretty huge. As you can see, only a maximum of 80 at R5, mind you, can be converted this way, but more than 60% is like nothing to sneeze at. So I really do think this is gonna be a good choice. Let's switch it over here. Obviously, this is not like a really accessible weapon. It's a weapon banner exclusive and it's R5 just because I got lucky. So other weapons you could run are gonna be stat sticks like Staff of Homa, Jade Spear, which would be really good because of the crit rate here to boost that crit on Rosa. Same with the Scarlet Sands, like that's a nice juicy crit boost right there. Deathmatch would be nice too, stat stick again. I feel like if you are gonna run an energy recharge weapon, you're really gonna have to make up for the crit in the artifacts. I don't think Favonius or the Catch are bad options, especially if you need that energy, but Rosa does not have a super high energy cost, so Favonius Lance you'd probably be running to kind of support the rest of your team, which is fine. So I think today what I'm going to test is the Primordial Jade Wing Spear, Staff of Homa, Wavebreaker's fin at R5, and go back to what we were running, the Blackcliff pull. So let's keep it on the Blackcliff pull for now. In order for this weapon to work, I'm gonna need a lot of crit rate. I'm only gonna test Noblesse Rosaria today because that's really all I can see myself running, but you can do what I was doing before, 2-piece Noblesse, 2-piece Blizzard. You could even do some EM stuff, especially in a melt team, like maybe Gilded 2-piece, or Attack Boost 2-piece, Gladiator, Shimenawa, one of those sets. You can mix and match what you have. Main sets you're gonna wanna run either an Attack Sands or an EM Sands, maybe in the reverse melt team. I don't have any built EM Sands and definitely none with crit rate on them, which is kind of what we're looking for. So I'm gonna stick with this Attack Sands. You're gonna want a cryo damage bonus goblet unless you're running physical Rosaria, but I am not. So 9 times out of 10, unless you already have a crazy amount of crit rate from your weapon, you're gonna want a crit rate circlet because as always, we're gonna want a lot of crit rate on the Rosa. So let's see what I end up with now that I've rebuilt the artifact. So we have about 78.9 crit rate. It could be higher. I think I'd be pretty happy in like the 80s for crit rate, but based on what artifacts I have, I mean, this is what we can do. I'm gonna start it off with the reverse melt comp because that's the comp I would run, not freeze. So let's hit him and see what our crit rate boost is when we get him from behind. Oh, did we get him or is he blocking it? Oh no, we got him. So 90.9. So that's pretty good, 90.9. Let's do an ult here now that we have that boost. 11k. 9k. Okay, so initially we were hitting about 6k, so that could be the talent boost, the artifact boost. So what if we applied some pyro and we did a little melty? How about that? 5 to 13k. Okay, so 13k on the second hit, about 5.5 on the first. That's pretty nice. All right, so let's test the full rotation with the reverse melt. Let's get Zhangling first. I know she's not going to snapshot, but I want Benny's burst to last as long as possible so we can get the Rosa numbers. And then here we go, 9k, 23k on that melt, 30k. Oh, come over here, sir, please. I'm testing. Please come here, please. Please stay in my circle this time, sir. I'm really trying to get some numbers going on here. Rosa. Okay, let's tick it. He's blocking it. He's blocking it. Stagger him. 26k. Beautiful, 26k. Nice. Okay, so that was really impressive. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to a crit-based weapon. With this, we have 100.9% crit rate, which means we are 100% going to get that 15% buff. I'm thinking this is going to be a little unnecessary. Obviously, we're already going to get an extra boost of crit when we do the skill and hit the enemy from behind. So 100 is overkill. I feel like this is going to be a more support-based weapon for the rest of my team. Rosa's personal damage is, of course, not going to be as good. I will do a little initial test, but I mean, we already know, right? 1k, 3.5k. Okay, let's burst. 7k, 10k on the second hit. So yeah, 9k, not bad actually. Not as bad as I thought it would be. And then we will go with Rosa. And then let's, oh, okay, so let's quickly check the Benny. We're now at 67.4 crit rate. Before, I'll show you what, I don't remember exactly what I had before. I should have checked. I believe it's like 54 or something. So we did get a juicy little crit rate boost there. Oh, Kazu died. When did that happen? Oh my gosh, I didn't even see that. She's actually quite a good team partner for my specific Benny because I have been struggling to find the crit rate in his artifacts. Like I said, I do wonder if it's necessary to run this high of a crit rate weapon when I already have quite a bit of crit rate from the artifacts. So that leads me to my next choice, Staff of Homa. Okay, let's try Raw. 4k, 10k. Okay, interesting. That's pretty good. Let's do an ult. 14k? I didn't hit him the first time. 12k per tick, I guess. So now I'm gonna run it through to see what kind of reverse melt damage we can get. So let's do that full rotation, and let's do Rosa. 27k? 24k, 36k. Nice, 31k. Okay, interesting, interesting, interesting. Very interesting. All right, the last weapon I want to try today is the Wavebreaker's Fin. So as I said before, even though I can't get the most out of this passive, I can still reap quite a bit of a benefit. So I think this will be interesting to try, especially on the melt comp where the burst is going to be important. Of course, on this, we do have a little bit more attack from the main stat of the weapon, but we lose a hefty amount of crit damage. So let's see how it plays out. Maybe it'll even out in the end with that burst damage, who knows? All right, so I'm going to do the raw skill. I anticipate this will not be strong, but we're looking at the burst, not the skill. Oh, you know what? That was not bad. Okay, so let's test a raw burst. Quick skill, burst, 14k, 12k. Okay, so 14k in the initial hit and 12k ticks. Interesting. Zhangling. Then we're gonna Benny ult. Then we're gonna Rosa skill, and then we're gonna Rosa ult. 25k, 31k per tick. Okay, so let's set this up as if I was doing it for real. We're gonna swirl that pyro. Bursty worsty, get Zhangling's Guoba, this, and then we'll let Rosa do her thing, sub DPS off the field, and Benny will be my main DPS on the field. 30k tick still, nice, 21k, yep, good, really nice. Wavebreaker's been quite nice. Oh, well that was fast, that was really fast. Okay, for the sake of consistency and keeping the test fair, I will run the freeze team with the new built Rosa, but I'm just letting you know, I know this is so biased. I would never run this team. I don't run freeze teams, and there's no healer in this team, and I'm not good enough to do that, so. Okay, let's ult here. We'll ult with Kazu, once we get that ready. Ult with Rosa. Ult with Kaya. 15k in the burst, okay. Slapped around. That's the problem when you don't have a healer. That's not good. Okay, so I took a look at the video footage and I wrote down what each weapon did on the skill as well as the burst, both the initial burst hit as well as how much it ticked for after. So I'll put it up on the screen, and Wavebreaker did even more than Homa with the burst. So in the footage I recorded, I got 36,722 initial melt damage and then 31,890 per tick with the Wavebreaker, which beats out Homa's 36,238 initial melt and 31,469 tick. So even on this team that doesn't have the highest burst cost, the Wavebreaker still beats out Staff of Homa, which is awesome for a lot of reasons. First off, because you're probably gonna want to run your Homa on another character, your DPS or like Zhongli or something like that. So the fact that I can use Wavebreaker on Rosa is great. Now, keep in mind her skill damage was lower, of course, to be expected, with 3,291 initial and 7,665 on the second, the back hit, the behind hit, the booty hit. With Homa, it was 4,498 on the initial and then 10,475 from behind. So Homa is stronger with the skill, which makes sense because Wavebreaker's passive only applies to the burst. I'll put a still shot of what the other weapons did as well, just to give you an idea. Coming in third place was Blackcliff with 30,890 on the initial melt and 26,825 per tick afterwards. Jade Spear came in last with 25,935 on the initial melt and 22,522 per tick. So obviously, as I said before, this is not really a free-to-play accessible weapon, in which case I would recommend Blackcliff. Blackcliff did pretty well as well, and if you don't have one of these 5-star weapons or you're using it on another character, this is a great free-to-play option. Also, it looks way better on Rosaria than the Wavebreaker. I'm kind of sad that Blackcliff didn't win out because this looks not as good. Wavebreaker at R1, you're gonna have to do the math and determine what kind of team you're gonna run. It might be worth a try, but at R5, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. All right, here we are on the Kenki floor, I believe. Yerp. Okay, let's do this, this, and let's see. 7K. Nice. Let's go in with Benny. Come on, Benny, heal yourself. We need it. Okay, yeah, pretty smooth, really impressive. All right, for the sake of testing, I'm gonna go back in, but with Blackcliff, just to see, like, you know, the comparison. All in all, Wavebreaker is obviously stronger, but I just want to show you that even with a free-to-play weapon, my Blackcliffs are too, which is pretty achievable. You can clear Abyss just fine. Okay, so let's do the whole thing. So we're just fighting 3 Kenkis instead of the 1 that we were fighting outside. Okay, this is not great because I'm low on a little bit of health, but it's fine. We're doing fine. We got this, no worries. Okay. Did I just do 200k melt? Wait, did you guys see that? Wait, what? Oh, sorry, Zhengling died. Did I just do a 200k melt just now? I think I did. Oh my gosh, I chose the EM buff, by the way. Okay, so I'm gonna do this one again because Zhengling did die last time, but that was wild if that melt damage was correct. Would it really be 200k? That'd be wild. Oh, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die. Oh, we got our way out of that one, huh? Okay, going well so far. Oh, that was close. I'm gonna hang out over here for a second because that was very close. Okay, so, you know, all things considered, that was quite nice. As for wrapping up my final thoughts, I think Rosaria is a phenomenal character and kind of overlooked lately, honestly. She gives that really unique crit rate boost as well as being quite a powerful off-field sub-DPS / support. So she's really great. I'm glad that I've taken her off the bench and rebuilt her because I can really see myself running her a lot in my Melts team. Definitely really happy with her. Probably one of my best revisits yet, if I do say so myself. Okay, so that's gonna do it for this revisiting video. Another success, if I do say so myself. I'm honestly really impressed with Rosaria. She might become a new regular in my teams, which is exactly what I love the Revisiting series for. Thank you for joining me today on this one. If you want, you can join me live in person on twitch.tv/Mijin. But that's going to do it from me today. If you're a Rosa main, if you've been loving Rosaria this whole time, let me know. What do you run on your Rosa? How do you use her? What's your go-to team? Stuff like that. Let me hear it because I'm always open to suggestions, unless it's a freeze comp, okay? I don't play with freeze. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye! Alright, let's go for... Can I talk, please? Let's do it again. Okay, so... Oh, Benny died. Oh, that's bad. That's very bad. Benny's not supposed to die. That's bad.